Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the India International Hospitality Expo, IHE 2020. Today is the first day of this big event, which is being organized entirely online. It's a first in many ways, and we should all celebrate it. And I think there can be no better way of celebrating this event, which I see both as a knowledge fest as well as a showcase of all the good work that is being done by our various suppliers and vendors across the country and some abroad. It is primarily a platform for all of us to exchange our thoughts and ideas, to network with each other and to learn from each other, especially in these somewhat difficult times, which I hope and we all hope will also tide over soon. There are lots of there's hope in the air, but we'll talk about it a little later. Um, I, to start the conclave, the IHE 2020 conclave, we couldn't have asked for a better person to speak than Mr. KB Kachru, Mr. Kulbhushan Kachru, who has been really a veteran, an active veteran of the hotel industry, not only in terms of the work he's done in setting up hotels and bringing in the brand, which we all now know as the Radisson Hotel Group, but also he has done a lot of work to promote quality education, hotel management education, as well as to give the hotel industry a sense of pride and identity. I think this is something which we owe a lot to Mr. Kachu. He has done mega events in his lifetime, the biggest events being the non-aligned movement and the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings, the summit meetings, which were held, if I'm not mistaken, in 1983, 82, 83. And those were his mega success stories when he was with the ITDC, the India Tourism Development Corporation. But since then, of course, he has created this other behemoth called the Radisson Hotel Group, which today stands at 125 plus hotels. And they're still signing up, even though the whole world is talking about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. I believe Radisson Hotels Group is still signing up new properties, new addresses. We'll learn more about it in the minutes ahead of us. With these words, please let us all give a virtual applause to Mr. Kachru and welcome him to this inaugural keynote conversation, where we hope to dig deep into his reservoir of knowledge and emerge happier and wiser people. Mr. Kachru, over to you.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you for your very, very kind words. Yes, I have been hanging around here for a reasonably long time, and I have done whatever bit I could do for the industry, and thank you for inviting me to this forum. I was actually witness to what you all did in 2019. I was invited then as well, and I was very, very impressed in what you had created and the kind of spread you had across food and beverage and the total hospitality zone. It's incredible for Mr. Rakesh Kumar, who is chairperson of IEML, and the president, Mr. Hari Dadu, who have actually planned and executed on the ground a real virtual of the creation, what was done in 2019 and in the previous years. I think it's incredibly huge task, and I must congratulate them. I must congratulate you and the entire team, which has been able to achieve this. I was very happy to learn the outcome of the 26 webinars you did during the lockdown period. I don't know if my numbers are correct, but it was around 26. And, they have been received very well in the industry. And people were really looking forward to what can be done. And getting 200 exhibitors under such condition is really, really good. And must also congratulate you all that you have participation from many international bodies, countries. Your partner country, I believe, is Peru. And with them, you have Spain, Belgium, and Germany. And congratulations to you. I'm sure Mr. Rakesh Kumar, with his experience of being Director General of EPC, has contributed a lot towards this, and he is a great promoter of hospitality industry. And we all need to thank him for taking this initiative.
Thank you,
Coming
Mr.
back,
Thank you,
Suresh.
Mr. Kachru. That really makes a day. Yeah, and sorry for the interjection, but please, the floor is yours.
No, great. Yeah. No, I spoke about the lockdown period. Suresh, nobody expected this kind of situation. It came as a surprise, and I hope it'll end soon. Lakhs of crores have been lost. Markets have shrunk. And whether people admit it or not, it's the worst impacted industry. Millions of jobs have been lost. Tourism tourism economy, to be specific, could deprive the world of over $4.7 trillion. This is huge, huge. 170 million jobs are at risk, and this has been stated by none less than WTTC. While this has happened in the world, what's happened in India? We have had our share of misery. 1,42,000 crores have been already lost in our industry, and 50 million jobs are at stake. We are, Suresh, actually running out of oxygen. That's where we are today. I highlighted some numbers, but these statistics only highlight the rapid structural shifts. What is important is we as the industry together, all of us together, and the government has to act on it. Economy runs on four wheels, we all know. It's demand, supply, capital, and labor. COVID has actually sucked the demand. We have to understand and realize that unless demand is created, we cannot fill in the gap. I'm sure most of the attendees and you all would have read the recent McKinsey report, where 24 economies have given stimulus to the tune of $100 billion to their respective tourism industries. And across industries, it's over $300 billion. Unfortunately, same cannot be said of what we are doing in India. It's rather unfortunate that we are still struggling to survive. I personally feel, although there are many colleagues of mine in the industry, they feel there would be rapid recovery after the vaccine comes in. But I want to be cautious about it. I want to be cautiously optimistic about it. I feel we have already lost 21. End of 22 and 23 is where I feel, given the circumstances today, things may change. And I hope vaccine is distributed in the next quarter and we see better days. As far as our industry is concerned, over 30% of our industry is fighting survival and is in serious question. It's strange that while other economies have offered stimulus to their respective bodies, partners, industries, unfortunately in India, our banks have listed tourism industry as negative. I feel we as an industry have no choice. 50 million people are presently dependent directly on our industry. And if we see the chain arrangement, over 350 million people are dependent on tourism and hospitality industry. 1/3 of the business travel, I'm sure you will agree, is actually gone forever. Markets are shifting. As far as we are concerned, I think we have to look at what can be done. As I was talking to you some time back, yes, we are depressed with what has happened to our industry, but we have to actually learn to deal with it and look forward. Our government should actually invite sovereign funds to come and invest in India. If there is no money, industry can't survive for too long. And the money I'm talking about, if other economies are invited to invest in India, these funds are invited, they will at least provide the rescue for next 1 or 2 quarters. And the rest can be loaned and the industry can learn to survive. Creating of demand is not easy. The big issue today in our industry is our costs, our operating costs, whether it's hotels, or restaurants, bars, fitness centers, parlors, whatever. Our fixed costs are huge. Our fixed costs run to the tune of about 40%. And add to that 10 to 12% of debt. So where is the money to survive? So we have to actually start rethinking. And one of the key issues is looking at our costs and repurposing our business. I mean, look at huge spaces which have been created in hotels, banquet areas, wedding halls, huge kitchens in the hotels, at catering places. We have to actually look at repurposing a substantial amount of this if we want return on our investment. We need to focus on consolidating our balance sheet. most of us, particularly in the management, and I blame ourselves as well, uh, you said that during this time, Radisson Hotel Group has been lucky in signing hotel. Yes, we are fortunate because we had focused on India for a long time, and we have developed, and we have, in fact, between our operations and under development, over 150 hotels, to be precise, 154 hotels. So we prefer to be asset light, but there is a great opportunity for acquiring stress assets. And if we can get portfolio, we can attract funds. This would be good, whether it is independent restaurants, whether it's branded hotels or unbranded hotels. There's a huge scope for domestic movement. If you ask me today, if I had to crystal gaze, what do I see as far as our industry is concerned? I think number one would be we all need some kind of a psychological advantage of understanding and knowing factually when the vaccine is in place and how is it being distributed. That will serve as a booster to all of us. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that all the verticals of tourism and hospitality have to adopt to very, very quickly to international health and safety consciousness. It's not only doing it superficially. It has to be ingrained. We have to learn, we have to live it, and we have to exhibit it. You have to show what you are doing. Not doing is not just good enough. You have to exhibit. We have to repurpose spaces. We have to have our marketing programs done, whether the government does it, industry does it, units do it. I mean, I was reading the other day in parts of Europe, they have already started holiday packages where you can take the holiday now and pay later. EMIs are not only for retail items now. Holiday is a big, big market for this. I personally feel leisure would stabilize first. Big metros are going to have a problem as far as business travel. It's going to take some time. It will be better than tier 2 and tier 3 in terms of business movement. But the good news is that mid-market units, whether they're restaurants, they are hotels, they are weddings, the margins will be restored in tier 2 and tier 3 in the mid-market segment much before 5-star and luxury. Suresh, it'll take 2 to 3 years to come back. So I personally feel we should take it as an opportunity of repurposing ourselves, accepting technology, accepting new norms, and operating more and more efficiently. Repurposing has already shown some great results. Many branded hotel groups and individuals have started utilizing their kitchens much better. And what I hear, that huge revenue streams are being built. So in the same manner, we need to look at each and every vertical of our organization and see where we can draw more and more revenues. I want to take this opportunity. There's a silver lining, and I think we're going to make it. I want to stay in this sphere. I want to stay quite optimistic because we have the talent, we have the zeal, and we have the market.
What I was saying is that it's very interesting the way you've shown the trajectory for the revival. Uh, I think the fact that mid-market segment in tier two and tier three uh, towns will be the first to experience the revival and
The
restoration
margins
of
will
the,
be better. The
yeah,
margins will be
margins
better.
will be better. And then, of course, the turn will come of the big cities. I mean, of course, a lot of that would depend on the revival of business travel. Or now
Yeah.
that that is the big question mark, as you said, whether the vaccine comes or not. We expect a one-third drop in business travel because increasingly people are getting used to devices such as this that we are using, the Zoom webinars. Now they don't feel like going out for meetings anymore. So I think very soon the video conferencing will become the norms, uh, and that will
I,
seriously
I
affect
don't know if you,
business
I
travel.
don't know, Suresh, if you heard what
Yeah,
Bill Gates made a comment
right,
just 5 or 6 days back
right.
that personal meetings are not going to be viewed as gold standard anymore.
That's right. In fact, there was a time when most people in the industry, in the hospitality industry, were very skeptical of people working from home. Now, actually, everyone is counting the costs of the benefits they would earn from people working at home. It's interesting.
I think,
Mm,
yeah, I think you are right. You're absolutely right, Suresh. I think we also had issues culturally
mhm.
because if you remember, if you didn't have a visiting card and
Right,
a good office address, you were not considered an established player.
right,
All that has gone, and people are taking advantage of this
right,
because efficiency levels in certain areas has
right,
actually improved.
right. And what people are realizing that each person working in an office, occupies a certain square footage, and consumes X amount of electricity and water, which ultimately the office ends up paying. So all that is being saved by the big corporates. And I think they are, I think they'll be seriously looking at more and more people working from home, or maybe co-working spaces. Is that a big possibility?
Well, in certain areas, yes. But let me tell you,
Yeah,
as I said, some of the areas, personal touch, and particularly in food and beverage,
right,
I think we're human beings, and I don't think we can stay away from each other for a long time.
right,
So I think revival of the food and beverage industry is going to be much quicker than what people. I can understand people are very cautious in making a comment, but as I said earlier, I'm cautiously optimistic about. I think our food and beverage will come back sooner than anyone thinks. Yes, huge expos and conferences will be impacted to a great extent, at
right.
least for next few years. Till there are cycles. Memory is unfortunately not something which people want to
Yeah,
remember bad things for a long time.
right.
So that will come back. But yes, to answer your question specifically, their mice would be impacted the most, and business hotels will take time to develop. Leisure hotels are already looking at a good moment, and I think if things are brought under control, leisure would be the quickest to come back to 2019, and even may see an increase in margins.
You're right. No, but which brings me to the point that uh, mice was increasingly seen by by hotels, especially in tier two and tier threes towns and cities, as and weddings, as major revenue sources. And in fact, those were the magnets which drew a lot of investors to put money into new hotels, new ventures. Now, with both mice and weddings, the market sort of constricting, do you think, what are the alternatives for hotels? Even, say, restaurants and hotels are seeing bad business because people are not eating out that much. So, where do hotels make up for these losses?
As I said earlier, we have to seriously think of repurposing these spaces. It is important. And to be honest, we used to overdo restaurants in our hotels. We used to have, I mean, a 150-room hotel would have 3 restaurants. It actually doesn't make sense when you look at it right. If one goes by what you say, we have to calculate a revenue per square foot in terms of all the overheads and operating expenses. It doesn't make sense. So all that would be reviewed, and I think even government would have to rethink their policies. Now, can you imagine, we have some states where per room you have to make 3 to 4 parkings. Now, it doesn't make any sense to have 3 to 4 parkings made per room. So we are stressing that all these policies be looked into, reviewed, and changed. We as an industry feel that we rightfully deserve the status of infrastructure industry. We need, I see no reason if all other industries are granted industry status and they get preferential rates. And here, tourism, which controls 10% of GDP of India and 9% of employment, direct employment, is not given industry status, is
Right,
not something we would like to accept.
right.
So we as an industry have to come together,
Yeah.
work with the right people. We do want our senior policy makers to understand that if tourism has been declared as 5 pillars of our economy,
You're right.
please help us consolidate and strengthen that pillar.
Right. No, but it's very interesting. I keep saying this. I mean, jokingly to some of my, hotelier and restaurant friends who are very active in the various industry bodies, and I keep saying that like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I was a rookie journalist, I used to hear the same things being talked about by the same people. You were younger, I was younger. Now we have all grayed and grown older, but the song doesn't change. You keep talking about the same thing. You keep talking about industry status. At least I've heard about this for about 20 years. Now, why is it that there is a resentment, or there's a what is it stopping the government from giving industry status to the industry?
I it's a highly political question as to why things didn't happen. Uh, I I feel we have been pushed to the wall. There is no scope for people not to understand the situation. Yes, our predecessors, our people, our industry stalwarts have made this plea to the right authorities, but not accepted for whatever reason, because we were unfortunately considered as an elite industry. So they focused more because of the social pressures
Right.
to and agriculture. That was the key priority. But now, if 50 plus 350 million, 400 million people are going to be impacted, if we don't think about it, you'll have a problem. Now, having said that, we have had some governments. Actually, I am happy to share the good news with you. You must have already heard it. Some states have already declared industry benefits to tourism and hospitality.
Maharashtra being the
Uh,
leader, I think
yeah,
in this.
you know, Maharashtra, I must say, Maharashtra has the same utility rates would be given to us, same privileges would be given to us. So the operating costs would go down. Once the operating costs go down, it is industry is sustainable. People will invest money in this. Otherwise, if you make it where you don't have a clear bottom line, people would be very apprehensive. There was a time people in India would spend money for ROE, return
Right.
on ego. But the younger generation is very focused on the bottom line. Children of the same parents who would make investments and create a monument, now
Right.
that is no longer there. Kids are very, very sharp. They want to see, how do I get returns on my investment. That's not going to happen. So
Right.
I think we as an industry have to change. The government has to change. The government has to accept the reality.
So, it is, I mean, we have been trying very hard for the government to, accept the new reality, but what should the industry do to make that happen?
Well, we are. I don't want to use the word fighting at all at all levels, but we are making it where we. I'm part of HAI, Hotel Association of India. We have met anybody who matters, and they're all sympathetic. They are trying to look at the possibilities, and gradually things should happen. We're optimistic things should happen, but how much they'll happen, I don't think any one of us has any guarantee. But as I said earlier, the entire industry have to be in it together. From a small restaurant operator or a restaurant vendor to a big hotelier and a big consumer of items, all are equally impacted.
Right. Now, it brings me to another question is that, you know, eh, we are seeing, we keep talking about the human cost of this pandemic and its impact on the on the hospitality sector. So how what is your advice to a lot of young people who have lost their jobs or who are now on like a forced leave sort of a situation? Uh, what is the future for them? Should they go for reskilling or multi-skilling, or should they just give up on the hospitality sector and move on?
You know, I am fairly optimistic on what is going to happen from few years from now. We
Right.
are passing through the worst phase, and now to sustain ourselves, whether it's moving from survival to revival, we need to ensure that how an individual is useful. I have to feel how useful I am to my company. If I am not useful to my company, obviously after some time it'll start pinching them. So reskilling and multiskilling are equally important, and that is actually happening world over. And multiskilling has already, I am happy to see that most of our hospitality units, both in the restaurant segment, whether it is the kitchens or whether it is front of the house or hotels, a doorman today is no longer a doorman. He picks up your bags, brings it in, and shows the way to you. He parks your car. It's multi-skilling. So in the same manner, we have to look at what is useful. We have had rather too much of luxury in terms of employing people, which is unaffordable. There was a time luxury hotels had literally a ratio of over 2.5 a room.
Right.
Now it cannot work.
What is the ideal ratio according to you?
Well, it really depends on which segment you are in. If you are in the budget segment, I would even work around 0.5% in the budget segment, and in the 3-star segment, anywhere between 0.8 to 1, and that's up to the first class market. So we have to change ourselves. Mentally, we have to accept certain things. We always used to blame it on the client, that the client wants this. I mean, yes. But I can assure you, no clients wants 4 people to open the door for when you get into the hotel.
Right.
So we had to be very discerning in the decisions we make. We don't want to do anything at the cost of our customer. Because if he is coming to stay, he wants the basics. He wants all things right. Why would he stay in a first-class hotel and pay money if he is not getting what he wants? So I think we have to be intelligent enough to qualify the right needs, provide for those needs, whether it comes under 0.8 or 1, ratio 1, but we have to provide that.
Which means, I feel that there will be, at least in the year or two now, there will be sort of resistance from potential investors to put money into the hotel sector. Do you see that happening? Because you have been dealing with third parties throughout. You're like a pro in developing relations with hotel developers. So now tell me, is hotel development going out of fashion thanks to COVID-19?
Well, the reality is slightly different. At the moment, if you ask me, this is the best time to acquire if you have cash, because you are getting good value for the assets. Right. And this may be a good time to recommend to people to invest in India. And those hotels at that price would be profitable. So you will have development going on. But if you talk about the values pre-COVID, I don't think you will find many people.
So do you see foreign investors coming into the market in a big way, especially because worldwide now interest rates having come down so much, they can pick a lot of cash without paying too much interest?
I don't rule out the possibility of getting foreign funds, because if there are some portfolios to be acquired, foreign funds will come. That's a good sign. And if you have an understanding that there is an opportunity for stressed assets, and particularly a portfolio, as I said, you will have investors, coming in. And if you look at India, last 2 months, the foreign exchange fund flow to India has never been better. I mean, this may come as a surprise, but funding for last few months has been phenomenal because everybody has brought in funds and they're waiting where to invest.
So actually, India is attracting foreign investment.
Yes,
because it offers a lot of cheap distressed assets, I guess.
It will. At the moment, it's very difficult to say what, where, and how much. But I feel things would be clear in the next financial year. I think in the next 2 or 3 months, things would be clear how many would like to put their assets in the market. As long as they get a reasonable value for their money, there would be a lot of assets available in the market.
Yeah, right. So good. We are seeing what you are seeing is that in this pall of gloom that has enveloped the hospitality sector, there are streaks of light, and they offer hope in these distressed times. We can say. Is that a reasonable understanding to go back with, that there is hope? We should hold on. I mean, provided, of course, we have a job in the industry, we should hold on and just let the worst pass.
Well, I would repeat myself. Today is the opportunity, but there's a silver lining.
Right. Right. Fantastic. So that's, as Mr. Kachru said, that his tone is that of cautious optimism. It is, this, I think that comes with the experience he has had. He has seen the industry go through its cycles of ups and downs. But of course, what we are experiencing now has been unprecedented. There's no, never in the history of humankind has there been one disease which has sort of put the brakes on on the movement and the livelihoods of just about every person living on this planet. And we have that situation right now. But there is, there is hope. I hope the vaccines come and they are distributed fast. And at least I feel that the vaccine, if not anything, it may not be an immunity booster as much as it will be at least a booster for our interest in, again, going out and seeing life and enjoying, partaking of life. Do you think, Mr. Kachru, that is going to happen?
Well, I'd like to say I am optimistic about it. And I think if psychologically we feel better, half the battle is won. So let's look forward to better times.
That's right. I think, I mean, I wish we had a drink, by our side. We would have raised a toast to it. But let's raise a virtual toast to this lovely thought. Let's prepare for good times. And while we are seeing the worst of it, let's learn the right lessons, I guess. With Mr. Kachru and people like him around, I'm sure we're going to learn not just the right lessons, but the right lessons that are going to make a difference to us in the years and months ahead. Thank you, Mr. Kachru. Thank you for enlightening us.
Thank you, Suraj. Thank you so much again. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Bye.
Namaskar, and stay safe. And hope to meet you soon.
All the best for the conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much.